Good morning and welcome to my morning podcast of fighting CPS and getting your children back. Um, I normally come on at 10 o'clock. Apparently, I was a little bit late, and what's happening now with my computer is that I save my logon information and I don't clean it every so often, and it's taking longer and longer to load. Um, I don't know. I'm not an expert about that. Oops, get a call from there. Well, it looks like my phone's working. It looks like my phone's working. Um, Somebody with a private number called. Oh, we got a call already here. Good morning. Who am I talking to?
My name's Heather. How are you?
Pretty good, Heather.
Thank you.
And what part of the world are you from? What city and state
I'm
or
in
country?
Sacramento, California.
All right, welcome to my podcast. I guess you've heard about this podcast, right?
Yeah, just recently. I used to watch Mr. Davis's podcast a lot.
Oh, okay. What made you decide to watch me?
The different topic because I was a foster kid who emancipated, and I have my own child. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine, Heather, and I have you right now live on my podcast.
I thought I was. I never get to the live questioning, so I'm really glad I made it. So I've been, I went back and read my old court report following my son's court report, and I made it to the Supreme Court by following Mr. Davis's videos, like all the way, and I get there. And during the week that I was supposed to present my motion, the CPS judge sentenced me criminally, and even though I appealed this, he sentenced me criminally and gave me an ultimatum to either sign that charge there or go to jail. And my mother I'm like her, responsible for her now in this day and age. And so even the social worker that was on the same team threatened me in a text message saying how if I keep pursuing this, that she was going to, if my life was already a problem now, just wait till she's done. And no matter what avenue I tried to advocate for myself, in that moment, I was so mentally debilitated after, I feel like it's almost repeating a cycle that's yet to be broken. And all it created was more addiction, out of this, when you look at the big picture. Because they take 50 to 70% of former foster kids as children, which I got off Social Security. I got a job. I had a house. I did everything I could have, and they used my expunged juvenile record as being the final ultimatum of why I couldn't be a fit parent. And the foster dad is a correctional officer in that same county where they put me in the jail at.
Well, what I'm trying to understand, it sounds like you're young, and that they say criminal charges. I never known a CPS to do anything criminal. That has to be brought on by the district attorney for a criminal charge. CPS, when they do bring you to the level, when they do bring you to I was going to say when they do bring you to that level, what they do is they turn it over to the district attorney to put criminal charges on you. For instance.
Yeah, and I appealed those charges, and the judge that had accepted my appeal, the day that I was supposed to be heard in front of the judge for that, the CPS judge that was still in my CPS case for dealing with my son, she was visiting and sentenced me criminally and threw out my old lawyer and put a new lawyer there when the previous judge had ordered that public defender to be physically present at that hearing.
Well, I'm trying to confuse. How did the CPS judge, the dependency court judge, end up in the criminal court? How did that happen?
And I asked about this. I went to extreme lengths, and I just get shut down when I try to pursue it. But no, she was a visiting judge for that day, which was the same day as my son's review for the 6-month adoption, which I was fighting for as well. And she had the bailiffs surrounding me. If I didn't sign that paper, I was to go to jail that day. But I had
that's cohesion. That is cohesion, and that is against the law. I just cannot believe that a municipal. What court was that? Was the municipal court, or what was it?
Yuba County. It's in Marysville, California, which they're the top
right.
adoption rate in California.
But they're not. It's not the Supreme Court. It was not the Supreme Court of California State. It was the Superior Court.
I was supposed to present my motion in front of the Supreme Court.
Well, true.
They sentenced me and put me in jail. The CPS judge did from the lower court.
How could they put you in jail? Never heard of such a thing. This is all new to me.
A turn-in date, and I had less than 30 days to turn myself into that county, which I did, and I did my time. But
well, what kind of a criminal act did you do to your children? What was the allegations?
So they charged me with elder abuse with the intent to create bodily harm. When I was in labor, I tried to grab a phone out of a lady's hand that I was living next to and tell them I was 2 centimeters dilated. But they utilized this as a weapon against me because there was no proof. I appealed it. I did not hurt this lady, you know? I did not try to harm her. I was in labor. This is when I was in labor.
Well, wait a minute. What is an elderly person doing in the birthing room?
I was doing labor and I lived in the mountains. And she was on the phone with the cops and I needed an ambulance, you know?
Well, okay. Are you staying at a home for mixed? Usually elderly people don't stay with young people. Usually it's separated.
No, I was living at a long-term stay motel. And it wasn't even in the county that they took my baby from. I lived in Butte County.
Wait. You were pregnant and living at a hotel.
It was a Section 8 long-term stay motel. So they were working with the county to
Well, you're low income, right? You're Heather, you're low income, right?
That's what Section 8 is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're low income, and I know that it's really hard with low income, and they do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, but I got in union since then. I've got a job, employment history. I got my own house. I did everything that I should have done right.
Well, why when you show that to the court, why are they ignoring that?
It's because as a juvenile, all the way up until maybe.
Are you still a juvenile? Are you still a juvenile?
No, but up until about I had my pregnancy, did I know these things? Like when I emancipated from foster care, they moved me right back on the same street they removed me from back when I was a kid.
So how long were you in foster care?
3 years.
Okay, and why were you in foster care? What did your mother do?
They just were physically present and available in my life.
So you were brought up, and your mother and dad were charged with neglect?
No, we went to our grandparents, but my grandparents, I was having a lot of troubles back then, and I went to juvie, and then I went to foster care because.
Well, I understand because you don't have a mother and father. So what you tell me is your mother and father couldn't take care of you, so they dumped you with who? The mom's mom or the dad's mom?
My dad's mom.
Okay, so you're dumped with your dad's mom, and you don't understand because at that time, how old were you?
I was 7, but then my grandparents really didn't take care of me either. They put me to foster care.
There's something wrong here because that social worker in social services did not diagnostic the situation. If you have a parents that don't want you and they dumped you with their parents and their parents didn't want to take care of you, then social work should have came out to help you, not tear you apart.
And I reached out to them, and then they put me in this first home, and then I automatically slowly just went into group homes. And then a social worker stopped being a social worker to be my foster mom. But back then, they had had me really doped up on so many different medicines and trying this and that when I turned 18, instead of showing me about the work life like they're supposed to, they give me the Social Security and then use that as the ultimate thing, but as a mental condition that I was unable to fit to be a parent. But I mean, like I'm my mom's guardian now, so how did that work? And then I feel like they've been attacking me ever since, and like I'm not able to financially get to where I need to go to be able to present this in federal
Did you
court.
explain all this to Vincent? Did you explain all this to Vincent?
Yeah, I did, but his retainer fee is $30,000.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I cannot believe. I'm not a lawyer. Don't get me wrong here. I'm just a guy that had his family ripped apart by social services, by the CPS. But I know there's a separation between criminal court and CPS court, dependency court, and then the court where they deal with the criminal matters are different things. Because what happened in my case, they've tried for 5 years to break my family apart, and they were unsuccessful because I kept disproving all the allegations that were coming from my in-laws, my wife's family members, for 5 years. And eventually they did a trick, and they tricked me by a detective stopping me, not him stopping me, but his police crony stopped me. And then he talked to me and said, you had to come home. And they tricked me into opening my home, which I wasn't supposed to. And
they tricked me the same kind of way.
I know the rights now. But the thing is that he reported his findings. The CPS had their findings, the social workers. So the social workers charged with neglect. The police charged me and my wife with neglect criminally as a misdemeanor.
I didn't get charged with anything either.
Yeah, they got misdemeanor. They're really corrupt, and CPS had to say, we got to wait till you get your criminal matter taken care of. They tried to do some things.
Yeah, no, they told me to sort it out. They told me to make it a deal so that it would look good in front of Supreme Court. The appeal attorney did. And so when I did that, but I did nothing wrong, and I stick to that with how they put it on. And it was 2 years before that charge even happened that they brought the charges on.
Now, what about the father that you had the child with him? Where's he?
So he had an ankle monitor on, a homeless ankle monitor. He had cut it, and they gave him 7 years for that.
Wait a minute. Why did he have an ankle? What was his charge?
A car theft he had a preview. He got released on a previous.
Okay, so you got involved. You got involved with the wrong guy, the guy that has, and your experience probably didn't show it because you didn't have anybody helping you or telling you about the facts of life, and so you're alone. You're frustrated in this world, and you thought by opening up to a guy who had alternative motives because he doesn't want anything, so he now.
No, we grew up together. He just went into the prison system really young, and he came home with an addiction that he didn't have before he went to the prison system.
Well, wait a minute. When you say he grew up, were you guys together in a foster care home?
We grew up in the same town, in the same schools. We were all in the same neighborhood.
So how did you meet in school?
Before I went to foster care, yeah.
Oh, before you went to foster care, but that was before you were 7?
Yeah. Well, no, before. Not before I went to foster care. Before I went to, after I got out of juvie, it was like when I was 15. That's when we met. You know what I mean? Like we've seen each other throughout school years, but we didn't start seeing each other till high school.
Okay. So, and you were going to a high school?
Yeah, for my freshman year, and then the rest of my foster care years, I got homeschooled.
So you only had 1 year of high school?
Yeah.
And then, and why did you, with your first year of high school, why did you drop out, or what happened there?
When I was real young, I used to be 400 pounds. I was a really heavy kid, and people would bully me, and I would just fight, and I was really hurt. Like, I don't know, I had a lot of hurt, and so they stuffed that with mental health pills, which really just kept me loaded all those years. It kept me more loaded than any other drug I've ever taken, actually.
Yeah. Now, you talk to me very intelligent. You talk to me that you really care about your child. You're on this show, which I know that you care about your child. And you seem to have somehow run into a bunch of crazy fanatics. Now, I believe that about CPS. I believe it about the judges. I know that there are bad policemen. I don't think there's bad policemen as there are CPS social workers. But this.
And they have immunity laws, so it's hard to fight against these kind of people.
Well, they don't have immunity laws. I can guarantee if you told me the same story to me and you talked to a congresswoman or a congressman, your senator or representative, you need some political pressure on these people to help you.
Yeah, I don't know how to approach that yet.
Well, do you have access to a computer? Do you have an access to a computer?
Yes.
Okay. It's basically to see what your congresswoman or man or representative is. You just Google it. You just look it up. You just say, see who.
So when you say Congress, is there a more descriptive person, like a type of person that?
Who is? You say who is the Congress person? Now, what is the city that you live in?
I live in Sacramento, California.
Sacramento, California. Okay. There's Amy Bera, Bera. She's a doctor. She's been with the House of Representatives in 2013. There's more than just her. But I'm just trying to say is that
gives me an idea of who I need to be looking around, like where I need to look.
Well, here's what the thing is. What you're doing right now isn't working, and you have no money, and I don't know if there's a pro bono attorney in Sacramento that can help you. I can try to help you find an attorney.
Yeah, I think Mr. Vincent gave me this idea, or this information that really helpful. You call anywhere, you go on down the list, and one of them may take the case on, but it's like my mom has dementia, and I have work, and I'm actually about to graduate college, so it's hard to find the time to explain all these details because they're so important details, and I wrote it down. I even have my federal court motion to present. I wrote 20 pages on it. It's really hard to get down the list and someone just take it on. They usually say no. That's all I've gotten so far, but I keep trying, and I get on these lives, and but you only have up to 4 years if it's something that the judge had their misconduct, so my 4 years is coming up. My baby is about to be 4, and I just don't want to give up because I love him so much, and they stopped sending me pictures, even though that was like a part of my adoption agreement. That I didn't ask for them. Like, I did everything they asked, and I still was not like with my son, not reunited with him. And I'm going to share from my own childhood experience. This is what the CPS system is. It's almost like they created a cycle for jobs, for people, like all this, to control something. When in all actuality, you could tell if there's a bad person, like really hurting on their child. But they're abusing the system. It's like legal trafficking, almost. And it's such abuse of power that it makes it hard for me to get real bad anxiety now, and especially in public buildings, because of how they ask me, and eventually something where I started like fighting like on my tongue so hard, right, and doing things.
Do you have a pencil and a paper? Yeah. I'm going to give you the phone number of this Congress person you can start with. And it's area code 202 225 5716. And his name, he is a guy. It's Ami, AMI, Barra, BRA. He's a Democratic. He's the California District 6. So they have several representatives. He's one, somebody, but he's the first one that Googled up. So the other ones don't show because maybe they don't want to be contacted. I don't know.
So these last 2 years, I've really been reading the whole family law system because I thought I had it all read, and when I emancipated, because it's really hard to emancipate. But I realized that they kind of just, if you're a problem child and you give them a lot of trouble, they put you in a group home and they kind of give you this aspect that you're going to be an independent adult, and they throw you out in the world and no aspect of the real part of how real it is out there. And so when you fall or fail, there's no one to turn to. There's no plan B. And then you know how high the suicide rate and how high sexual abuse, all these things in foster kids. It's almost worse than leaving them with their families.
Yeah. When you call this person, you may get a secretary, but just say that you have a real sensitive case regarding your children. You've exhausted the legal recourses you've been trying for 2 years, that you have a really strange case, that you're doing appeal. Explain it to me how you explain to it, but be very thorough. Start from the beginning. And and she says that you'd like to talk to him because you need some political help, because this is something that is beyond right now. The police aren't helping you, social services isn't helping you, child protection services is not helping you, and you have to go.
Adult services is trying to attack my mom, trying to find a way to.
Well, they shouldn't be doing that. If that's true, have you tried to go to the director of child protection services in your?
I actually did speak with her, and she was so disrespectful to me on the phone, and acted as if didn't matter who I was, that it didn't really bother her, or she didn't even concern herself with to even go talk or hear me out. In a sense, she just was covering their tails or something. Like that's how I seen it. Every time the paperwork would come out, the lady, like the court reporter lady who submits the transcripts, the days were off, and I highlighted. I did everything to know all this stuff. It's just a lot of information to get out at once, you know.
Okay, hold on 1 second here, Heather. I have 2 people in my room. Brittany Stapleton, I want to welcome you. You're with Pike County at, and you say the DHR. I can imagine that is a CPS caseworker is the worst. I don't know where Pike County is located. I don't know what state that is. I don't know if that's California or Colorado or other places.
I also wanted to share that the lady who used to supervise my visits was a social worker for that same county for 16 years. She was the one who stopped my visits and totally shut me out of my kid's life. And she also owns the foster agency my son is fostered under.
Oh, boy.
After this happened, she put and her dad is the superintendent of the jail, in which she used to be my college professor, because I was about to graduate as a chemical dependency counselor. And he was one of my professors. And I called him to ask him for some support. And she called me back and threatened me, saying that if I kept pursuing, but she was connected to that agency and put that agency in her dad's name after all this happened. Because so what happened was my baby's dad and her husband got into a disagreement because it was none of my business, but we had to drive 45 minutes to get to our visits every day, and I had to leave with him. Because I left with him, because they argued, she stopped my visits completely, which I was like halfway through the process even, and I never got to see my baby again.
Yeah. Okay, but that's why I think you have to. You can find pro bono attorneys in Sacramento. You just have to search it right. There's a tricky way that you do it. And I can try to help you here for a second. I need to talk to the second person that texted in a message. We are real human. Welcome back again. We have talked to you before. She says, is a social worker allowed to come during my visits because they're trying, is my Is a social worker allowed to come during my visits because they were trying that one with me? Uh, it's how you make your arrangements with visitations. Now, a social
So
worker.
they were making all the arrangements. They don't
No,
let you
this is
make
not a
your own
question to
arrangements.
you, Heather. I'm talking to one of the
Oh,
people that text in.
oh, I'm
We
so sorry.
we are a real human. We're real human. They shouldn't be necessary with your visits. In my experience, they weren't, but also have had supervised visits. They're by other people representing the social workers. But well, I have supervised, so why does she need to become? That's a good question. I've never heard that before. Or maybe she just wants to see how you get along with your child. And again, if she sits at the backdrop, she can do that. She's your social worker. I don't think it's right. It's intimidating you, but she has the right to be there to observe because when you're under the social worker's cares, they have the right to observe and see how things are going. And
Yeah,
so,
but do they have the right to, like, okay, so when you are getting with the contracted agency and you ask to have your visits back at the office, the CPS office itself, and not the contracted agency, and they refuse to do that, so they just stop your visits and you're not allowed to see your son ever again? Like,
well,
that blows my mind.
well, yeah, it's you somehow have ruffled feathers, okay?
I did. So,
And so
yeah.
what's happened is that they're retaliating, and I hate to say it, that CPS does this. A case in point, our daughter was told by the social worker to divorce her parents, to change her name, to seal her birth certificate, and become adopted. Now, that
Yeah, they
social
tried to
worker
do that
did
to me at
that.
15.
That social worker did that because she lied underneath oath in court when she was being cross examined, and we caught her with the lie. So she told me and my wife that you're never going to see your daughter again. And she told our 9-year-old daughter, who doesn't know that much, what to do. And now she's 21 and she still does not see her parents. She's changed her name, and the people that she was adopted with, she's moved out from them because she has problems with them. Yeah, I know that we're really human. I agree with you that they will take away your visits. They tie the retaliate. And all I can say is go to the top dog, the director. If that doesn't work, then you're going to have to get and I'm telling people right now that contact the Congress people. I don't know if the governor of California will help you. I don't know him. Previous governors have helped me because I've talked to them at the top, and it was Dew Machen and his attorney, Governor Mike Kerb, called me direct when I complained about my girlfriend not getting her physical therapy certificate, and I wanted to make it happen. And I know by calling the top dogs, you can sometimes make it happen. So I recommend that we are only human, that you might get politically and find out your congressman or congresswoman, your senator or representatives. There's 2 senators for every state. There's various amounts of representatives based on the population. So you have the Senate and the House of Representatives, and they're the one politically that are supposed to represent you and the state in making changes. And the only thing I could say too, we are really human, is you need to get a pro bono attorney, or attorney you can get a professional attorney that you can pay for. Now back to you, Heather. Are you still with me,
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm still with you. I also wanted to share about all these things that you have to do, but these because I lived in a different county than where they detained my son from, I was having a hard time proving jurisdiction, and because they went to my grandpa's house and said if I was living there that my son couldn't be fostered there, so I moved out of my grandpa's house, and they still didn't put my son there. For the first 3 months, I only got to see my son over a video visit, even though the judge ordered it. But then when I brought it back to her attention, it's every time I kept getting disregarded. And it says that you're supposed to be able to use your voice in the courtroom, advocate for yourself. I exhausted every avenue that, even at the end of it, the social worker that was my social worker was no longer my social worker, and he called the county, the supervisor above her, and they all kind of play like this game, and it's like they're talking about you to your face, and it's hurtful. It's like almost knocking someone down so repetitively that I was unable to find housing that first period, but instead of helping me with the resources, they told me me having my mom with me, seemed like an issue, but it wasn't an issue. It was that I was responsible for her, and I was just asking for help. And maybe I ruffled some feathers throughout the way, and I think it was with the social worker, but I also reported her to the Better Business Bureau because it was a conflict of interest. She was so personally involved in my life, and this foster agency, the foster family who fosters my son, which is a correctional officer in the same county they pressed those charges on me at. And so I think about it so much about how she ended my visits, and it had nothing to do with me. It was about the argument necessarily with my kid's father and her husband that was supervising that day. But she has so much pull in this county that it's like me going toe to toe with her. And she said if I kept pursuing it, I have the text, very very clear as day, that she would, if I thought my life was already a mess, just wait till she was done with me.
Yeah.
And the traumatizing behavior that comes after that, I'm just going to say it was way worse than getting taken as a kid myself.
Right.
It's affected my mental health. I never felt my mental health until now compared to back then. Like they opened this world of pain to the society instead of keeping families together. Family reunification this should be the most important factor, and I want to be a part of the solution because there's so many things that the system has failed, and it's actually creating their own problem in the world, and it's affecting all our race and our human people.
Now, at the moment, what is your situation?
I still take care of my mom. I still live in the same house. I work. I'm in the union. I go to school.
And you're going to college?
Yeah, I'm about to graduate as an automotive technician.
Oh, great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So you are going to school. Do you have a job?
Yeah, I actually get paid to take care of my mother, but I pay for my union, and I'm not on Social Security anymore. I haven't gotten Social Security in almost a year.
Okay. And that is a wonderful thing to take care of your mom, because some people age faster than other people, and she needs your help.
My family has been the most healing part of this journey to keep me going. Me reuniting with my family and healing some of the wounds that they wouldn't allow my family to heal and achieve. Whether they did want to or not, they did show up. But it was how CPS has allowed families to stay together it's unrealistic, in a sense. And there's no good judgment or basic discernment with some of these workers, and they are just they come in it with an opinion base instead of doing their job.
Well, my consensus is, and I've talked with over 500 people at all 50 states, is that this social service that we have in place needs to be looked into and better prepared to handle our needs. I know that right now we have an influx of immigrants and it's affected social services big time. Now, we also have a lot of cases. We have a lot of cases, and some bad cases, of children being neglected and abused by their parents. It's something we need.
I understand that.
We need that because there are horror stories. If I could tell you about a story right now about a young mother who had a child, and on a whimsy thing, she decided she wanted to take a vacation. So she went to Detroit, and then she went to her vacation in Puerto Rico, and she was gone for 12 days. Now, she had a 15-month-old child, and she left him with no food, no water, no means of changing her diaper, and she's left in those little toys where you sit in and you bounce and you play little activities around your table. And that child, when they did the autopsy, found the child did not die right away, that the child went for days in pain of no water and no food and sitting in her stool in her diapers, and got an E. coli and everything. And yes, they came down. They came down.
Seen that kind of abuse,
they came down.
But the hospital that my baby was premature.
I'm not trying to compare your case to their case. No. I'm just trying to emphasize the importance that we need an agency to deal with that, because there no CPS intervened. It was too late, and that child is gone. And I just see vivid pictures of the cute little child, and I just can't imagine it. The same token goes for 8 social workers in Arizona that proudly wore pink T-shirts that had a logo and the name in the front that they're professional kidnappers. And on the back, they say, "Where are your children?" Now, this was a joke by social workers in bad taste. They are fired. But I'm trying to tell you right now, that supports the evidence that social workers out there are corrupt. Not all of them, but most of them I've talked to.
Their power.
And they are. They love their power. And they will use that, and they'll use the police to intimidate you, because the police...
and the immunity law that they won't get in trouble is that even if they were to be brought charges against them, they would just have to resign.
I have to look at the immunity law, because right now you can sue anybody for wrongdoing. I don't know if that immunity law would be applicable there. If they violated your constitutional rights, civil rights, they can be prosecuted.
But it's going to cost you a whole fucking lot of money. A whole lot of money, and you have to know what you're talking about when you get to this level, because
I know that. It requires a professional attorney. I know that. And it requires someone to go to law school and do that. And sometimes I think, why not I go to law school? But I don't have the funds right now to go to law school.
That would have been a great legal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that and your public defenders that you said that you have are useless. They'll end up doing more harm than good. And to get rid of a public defender...
He was the one who... And at the end of it all, he felt bad for me, and he actually gave me some moving forward on the journey I'm on now on how to do that. He gave me
well, maybe you're lucky. I don't know, but maybe you're lucky. Maybe you're lucky.
I don't feel like it's luck. It's like I feel like I've done my homework. I did my best of advocating, but after all the years of all that, it emotionally makes it hard for me to talk and use my words correctly.
Yeah. Well, there's also a medical trafficking going on too. And I'm talking right now, there's a lady came in, I don't know what city or state or country, but her name is Lady Boss Lionheart. I just got your message there. She had a baby girl on March 22nd, and CPS came to the hospital and told her that there were drugs in both her baby and herself. And she says that and she says she has proof that her screens were negative. You see?
Yes, I do too. But that still wasn't enough to prove it.
No, I know that because I know that because the drug tests are very tricky, and you got to make sure you get them done professionally. And CPS is the worst place to do.
They test their stools now, and it goes back 4 months.
Oh, okay.
So they wait for the baby to give birth, and then they take them to the UC Davis Center, and then they test the stool, and it could go back 4 months. But I found out when I was 5 months pregnant that I was pregnant. So I had gotten clean then, and I went into the hospital and talked with the doctor about it. And the same doctor, the county that I lived in didn't even bring up case. They didn't even detain my son. It was a different county that I had my kid in, even that detained my son.
Yeah, I can tell you about cases that people that aren't very thoughtful, they don't care. The problem is it's a $55 billion business. And with that billion-dollar business, the 55 billion, they don't want to stop that because they get plenty of money. And right now, I know in the Orange County, they get $20,000 per child per month for taking a child into foster care. And so it's a money thing. What we all face this. That's why I think you have to get involved politically. I think you need to get politics involved. You need to maybe get a newspaper that will side with you. Sometimes these stories are sensational enough that they'll get a lot of money from their newspaper. And so newspapers or TV shows, television shows will take on the things there. And so sometimes when you've exhausted yourself and you don't have very much money, sometimes talking to the television shows or the newspapers, they can help you make your case public and maybe get someone on board that can help you. The same thing goes with the congressman and the congresswoman and the representatives and senators, even the governor, even the mayor of a city. It is.
I really appreciate you giving me that information because I feel like that's where I've been halted at, is where to take this to.
Right. Because if you were turned down with your appeal that close to appeal, there's something wrong. There's something corrupt. I don't see all the pictures. I'd have to look at the paperwork and see how they were able to orchestrate that.
I did. When I see where it went wrong with where they went wrong with how she was in control, and my social worker was no longer making the decisions. It was the visiting center lady who used to work for that county for almost 20 years.
Okay. Wow. Let me go see something here. I did find some pro bono attorneys in Sacramento. I haven't talked to them. There's pro bono family lawyer attorneys, pro bono criminal, pro bono civil.
The avenue I was taking was civil because when it comes to family law, the restriction is a lot more complicated. So I guess that those kind of small counties, they're allowed to have a visiting judge sit in in the smaller counties, and I don't know how to contest it because when you ask for a grievance and stuff, they don't even have it on their webpage.
Yeah. Whoops! Someone's punching in a number. Here's one by there's a company called Thumbtack. It's an application which helps people with things. They say the 10 best affordable attorneys in Sacramento. There's supposedly 35 of them near them. So let me see what they come up here. They give lots of attorneys here with lots of stars. They're not all bad. There's the YAR Law, the Vacan Law Firm, the Lawville Law Offices.
I've also called law schools that are looking
you don't want law schools. You don't want law schools handling your case. It's like your haircut. there's a lot of people in training to be haircut. You don't want them to cut your hair; it'll end up being a mess.
Right. I know, you're right.
I mean, I just, you can get a free haircut anytime of the thing, but you're dealing with a trainee, and do you want your hair really done by a trainee? I mean, it can be really a mess there. But on thumbtack.com, I found 10 affordable attorneys in Sacramento. Some are saying $1,100 retainer. I know that's still a lot of money, but I'm trying to tell you is that that's what you really need is you need a law attorney that'll fight for you. Now, Vincent at $30,000 retainer is part of that money is because he has to travel to Northern California, so it's for his transportation and for his to there and his transportation around town and his accommodations. And so, I hate to say it, most of the best, and of course, Vincent is one of the best or the best, that they're going to charge you a lot of money.
A 30-minute consultation with him, and he helped me get all the way to
right. I know that he charges a nominal fee. What was it, $60?
It's actually $300 for a half hour.
Well, he right now is telling me that if you tell him that Bob Pace sent you, he only charges $60. So I'm surprised. Wow.
This was about a year and a half ago, so he might have changed the way.
Yeah, I don't know. At first, at first he's giving away at no charge, and then it was at $49.99, and now it's at $60. So all I know is that.
But his information does get you all the way to the Supreme Court. If you just watch his videos, you and such little people make it to the Supreme Court, but his videos, if you just listen and write notes, you would understand what he's meaning because it's so complicated, so much complex information to take.
Now, here's another one here called Pro Bono Family Law Attorneys, no retainers or hourly fees. Now, I can't believe that. Talk to a family lawyer online.
I can't believe that either.
You got to join for $5, though. They have this thing where you join for $5. Okay, yeah. You can cancel any time. So even $5 is pretty cheap, but I don't know what they're going to give you for $5. But there are pro bono attorneys in Sacramento. So Sacramento, Northern California is a pro bono. Here's the State Bar of California, and here's a directory, pro bono directory, and what's your county?
Sacramento.
That is your county, Sacramento? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sacramento County. Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. They have lots of Sacramento County. They got lots of attorneys that call for no charge, so you may want to give them a call.
Even Capital Pro Bono, yeah, I'm seeing that, but the county that my son was detained out of was Yuba.
Was Yuba County?
Yeah, and they don't have anything. They don't.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
they have right here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attorneys in Yuba.
Yeah, but I called all the attorneys that were family law related, and they don't want to fight against a public entity.
That's true. There's a lot of their people that don't want to do fighters because they know it's hard. They know they have to do their homework. They know they have to be good at doing what they're doing.
I have all my homework and I have all the support,
Yeah.
I have all the homework done.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you're going to have to do more and more calling. I think you're going to have to do it politically to get something stirred in the pot to make it happen.
That's what I'm going to
And
do.
I'm sorry that I wish I had a wand that can make it all disappear to be with your mom and your son together in a nice little family because you're taking good care of them right now.
Even if I don't get that back, I want to make a change. Hold the people accountable like they held me accountable. It's at that point where it's like when you can utilize your power to make something better.
I don't know if revenge really pays out in the end. I don't know if revenge pays out in the end because You could try to be revengeful and hatred people over the years, but all it's
No,
going to
I
do,
mean a reform in the law. Like
yeah,
I mean a reform in this law that's been set for years.
yeah,
There's got to be a change. You can't just have an old ancient law and for the same thing when you're updating everything else, every other area of that life. You know.
yeah.
I never got to be on the live show, so I had vomited out everything at one time. But I was like,
Well, you could be my guest speaker. You could be my guest speaker. All you have to do is write an email to my producer. Her name is Grace. So you just send it to grace@vincentwdavis.com and you ask her to be one of my 14 shows. I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week at 10 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time. The only time I deviate is on Sunday. I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning. And you can be my guest and you can be there live with your face and talk about your case on this show. So there's nothing stopping me
from like that.
If you want to be. My show is an interactive podcast, meaning that you can text in messages, you can call in, or you can be a guest on my show. There's 3 ways you can interact with it. And I'm very open to having people because sometimes I have callers in, sometimes I don't. There'll be shows that sometimes I sit there and put people to sleep because I talk about my case and people have heard my story long enough, they have it probably memorized. And I talk about my 3 basic rules too on there. But if you want to be on my show, just contact Grace, and that's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And
yeah, I'll send her an email today. That'd be really cool. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, Heather, that should be no problem at all there. And I don't want you to leave because you're still connected here, but I do want to mention my 3 rules. And real quickly, I go through them. I have my rule number 1, which is important because dealing with the case workers or the case managers, what do you call it? The people that work in the child protection system, and in California it's called Child Protection Services. You will find that it's a very difficult agency. It's hard to navigate around, and I say it's comparable to the story of Alice in Wonderland. Alice was playing outside and somehow fell down a rabbit hole. And that's how CPS. One day you're out there enjoying life and suddenly CPS drops in on you. So you went down this hole and now you're trying to open all these doors and they go nowhere. Alice, for whatever period of time, was lost. She talked to people that didn't make sense. She went to rooms that didn't make sense. And she found herself in a horrible place. Well, that's what CPS is about. Also, I feel like dealing with CPS is doing open heart surgery. And if you're doing open heart surgery, you're not going to do it yourself. You're not getting a layman to do it. You're not getting an auto mechanic to do it. You're getting a professional doctor to go there and do your surgery on your heart. Well, that's true with the CPS. You need an attorney.
But people don't want to fight these battles, though.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I wish I had known because I lost my daughter because I waited too late to hire an attorney. And when I got an attorney, she had already been down the road of no return. And so I wish I had gotten an attorney. I had to sell my home to get my attorney. I had to use all my funds. I spent so much money on Mr. Davis. And, I got back my 2 boys, but it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare and a half because there was so much corruption. It's unbelievable. So that's why and I have an attorney right here, and I tell people you'll find 10 attorneys, pro bono attorneys in family law. You mention your city you're living in and the biggest city next to it. Find, Sacramento and whatever small town you're in, or find your small town first, then Sacramento, a pro bono family law attorney, and you'll see a whole list of them. And after you narrow it down to 10, call those 10 to see if they're still in business. if they do CPS cases, and so forth. Once you narrow it down to 5 people, then those are the ones you want to have a consultation with. And Mr. Davis is one of those. He can reach at 888-888-6582. Just tell him that Bob Pace sent you. He'll give you right now a 30-minute consultation for $60. And he'll show you and help you navigate the fight CPS and get your children back. So, Vincent Davis has been doing this for 35 years. He is a specialist in CPS, and he has won against CPS and has gotten the children back. He's also fought them civilly. He's done civil trials in both state and federal courts and won. And he's also a trial attorney.
He's really good at what he does. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, I know, and it is like that. So, all you listeners out there, please, call him at 888-888-6582. Mention that Bob Pace sent you to the reception, and then when you talk to Mr. Davis, mention that Bob Pace sent you. There's also a ticket on the bottom of my screen, which will take him to a website. Just type in the whole thing there. That will check his calendar. It says calendar, not calendar, so it's important there. So it says schedule your private consult and coaching call with CPS strategy consultant Vince Davis, up to 30 minutes or an hour. Click link. I may have the wrong link there. That was the oh boy, I probably put the wrong link there. I think it's this one here. There it is. It's Vincent Davis, care of Bob Pace, Cannery.com. That's the one you want to get.
So, I clicked on it yesterday. I started an email, but I didn't finish it yet.
Right. I understand there. So that's my rule number 1. Now, my rule number 2 is the paperwork. Anytime you get involved with anything, you should keep a paper trail. And what you first should do is get a 3-inch notebook, get a bunch of notebook paper, and put it in there, and then get subject tabs and put the subject tabs and separate it into groups. They give you 5 or 6 subject tabs, and the first one should be your incident. And on the incident, you write down the date and time of the incident, who is involved. Your second line would be the description of the incident. If it takes 2 or 3 lines, do so. Then after that, you should put the outcome of the incident, what happened. If it hasn't finished, then you can come back later and fill it out, and then skip a couple lines and then do your next incident, and so forth and so forth. That way, it helps you keep track of everything. I did not do that. I wish I had. So that's really important there with the paperwork of things. Also, your other tabs, like your tab 2, could be all your program classes, all your drug screening tests, all your parenting classes, etc. All the completion of all your so forth. You could put your list of meetings, list of court dates, and those kinds of things. Then tab 3 is your history of all the things you found, websites, people you talked to, phone numbers, that kind of thing. So it's your info tab. So you have your.
So I used to just print out like the pages that I would search, and I bought this printer that just like helped me like do it from my phone.
Right.
So anything that was
and you could hole punch it. Right. You can hole punch that and get 3 holes and stick it in there. Anyway, that notebook, with those first 3 tabs, you got yourself started, and that's your CPS notebook, something that you can carry with you. All your documents are there and so forth. Also, the documents of your case that are entered into the court are always available from the court clerk, and they can get copies of any documents or all documents. There is a charge for that, but if you're low income, they'll do it for free. And so it's important that you have all your paperwork together, and that way you can deal with your case. Now, the third and the most important rule at the end is you do not talk to social workers. You do not talk to policemen. You say no, yes answers. No, yes answers. And you don't let them in your home. And they, if you can, deal with them outside. Deal with them at their office. If it gets really crunchy, just say to them, I'm sorry, I need to talk to my attorney. Could I have your business card? And then deal with that. There is exceptions. They can enter your home if a crime is in progress, the child's in danger, or they have a warrant or court order that says they can move your child, or they never let them take your child. They have to have a court order on that. My time is run up right now. I've gone 1 hour, so I'm going to end the show. I want to thank you, Heather, very much for participating in my show. I want to thank We're Real Human. I want to thank Lady Bass, and I want to thank Brittany Stapleton. Thank you all for coming to my room. I hope that you'll fight for your kids, and I care about you as a person. God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace. Sign off and see you tonight.